Today in MATLAB Basics, we are going to have a fast and furious look at different widgets in MATLAB GUI building. I'm going to show how they work, and then I'm briefly going to discuss how I program to do what I've shown. Let's begin. First, we have a push button. When I click this push button, it's going to activate some kind of an action. The action that I do for all of these is always going to be update the string that you see here. So we push button was pushed. Very often people want to know how to put a graphic on a button, so we'll cover that also and program it to say something has happened. There's a button group here. Notice that they're mutually exclusive. When I click one, the other one becomes unclicked, and either one of them will update the text there. Over here, when we put in some text, as soon as we commit to that text by hitting enter, it will update the text up top, or if you just switch to some other component, that also triggers the GUI. A lot of times people want to have multi-line edit boxes. And we can see that we have that here also, so I'll show how that was done. Toggle buttons that you want to be either on or off like this. We'll cover how to do those. Same with checkboxes. A slider so that every time you update it, it will take an action. We've got a list box here so that you can choose different list box items. And we've also got a pop-up menu where we can choose what pop-up we want to have. Also in here, I've got a UI table that I've put some data in upon creation. And of course, I've got an axis that has put some data upon creation of the GUI. Now that we've seen everything that this GUI does, let's look at the code. For the push button, what did I add? All I did was inside here, I say set handles of the .text status string, and I set the string to push button. This is just in the standard callback for the push button. On the picture push button, what did I do? Well, it's the same exact callback with a different string, but more importantly was how did I get the picture on there? If we look here, first I generate the image. The image needs to be a 3D matrix, one layer for each of the R, G, and B. I generate that very quickly here. And then what you do is you, for the H object, that is the current object that's being created, I set the C data to that image, and then I set the string to null so that you don't see it. For the radio button, by putting these two radio buttons inside of a button group, they are automatically mutually exclusive. How did I get the text to update? Well, that's in the callback for each of the buttons. Notice here that I just again do the set handles, same thing as I do for all of these. It's more a matter of where you put the callback, not what it is. And how did I get the text that is shown on those to be what I want? Well, in the create function for each of them, I set the H object, that is the object that we're dealing with, and the string property to whatever I want. Next, the toggle button. How do I get that so that it will update? Well, in this one, it's a little bit more complicated than the others. Notice that first what I do is I get the value of the H object, so I know if it's a 1 or a 0. 1 if it is down, or 0 if it's not. And then I switch between those. If it is down, then I set the string to toggle down. Otherwise, I set the string to toggle up. And again, this is in the push toggle button 1 callback. The checkbox, very much the same thing. Look at what I do here. First, I get the value of the H object so I know if it was checked. And then I switch off based on the isChecked value, either 1 or 0, and we'll set the string appropriately. How did I make this edit box so that it has a scroll bar? Well, that's pretty simple. Here in Guide, I'm going to bring up the Property Inspector. Looking at the max and the min, if the max is more than 1 greater than the min, that is going to trigger this to be a multi-line edit box. Now for the slider. Where am I going to put that callback and what is it going to look like? The first thing I do is get the value of the H object. That's going to tell me where the slider is. And then I'm going to set the text status string as always. And I construct the string I want by taking that slider value, doing a num to string on it, and concatenating it with some words. Slider at colon, and then I do the slider value. For the list box, I'm going to need to get the value and then place it in the string. So what do I do here? Contents is get H object string, so that's going to tell me all the different possibilities for the string. And then I get the value, which is going to tell me the index into that cell array. And then I set the string of the text status to that selected text. For the drop-down menu, it's going to be very much the same procedure. What we're going to do is get the string, so that gives us a cell array. Then we get the index into that cell array and use that string to update the string of the handles.textStatus. Next thing is to look at the UI table. How did I populate that? In the UI table create function, I just set the data to whatever I want. In this case, a magic square that is 3 by 3. And then finally, with this graphic into the axes, how did I get that there? Again, that's something I do on creation of the axes. And all I do is say membrane1 or whatever code I want, and that's going to run at the time of creation. Something to remember with this is I did something boring with each of these where I just update a string as my callback, but you can do anything you want in that callback, and that's how you can make some very powerful GUIs. Most of the time, it's just a matter of knowing where to put that callback. Thank you.